September 25th, Assignment 4. Plants are people, too. Mr. Neely must have gotten scared off by Michaela's protest last week, because today our assignment is boring. He walked around the classroom and handed out worksheets, which we're supposed to be silently filling out right now. It's just a giant picture of a plant, with little arrows and blanks where we're supposed to label the parts. I never thought I'd say this, but I miss cutting up dead frogs. Even though I know how to fill out this worksheet, even though Mr. Neely's gone over the plant parts, and even though Mom has mentioned them more than 1,000,000 times, I can't do it. Plants are a language I know, but thinking about them makes my stomach cramp. So I'm writing down my thoughts instead, just to look like I'm doing something. Michaela raises her hand and asks if this is a test, but Mr. Neely says, "Not a test for me, no, not a test for a grade, but a test for you, to explore your own knowledge, a journey, a scientific quest, etc., etc. You get the gist. Dari's already done with his worksheet, of course, and I'm realizing now that the answers were probably in our reading from this weekend, which I didn't do. I haven't been doing much homework outside of this lab journal, and Dad doesn't bother me about it because he assumes I'm upset about Mom. Here's a fun fact. Mom is a botanist, or should I say, Mom used to be a botanist. I'm not sure, but before she got sick, that was what she did. She worked for Michaela's mom in a lab at Lancaster University and did all these scientific things, talking about plants and genus and species all the time. I know it sounds boring, but it wasn't. One time at dinner, Mom and Dad were talking about work, and they were going back and forth, laughing and joking like they used to. And Dad turned to me and said, "We're so different, your mom and me. I don't know the first thing about plants. I wouldn't know where to start." But Mom shook her head and got serious and said, "That's not true. If you think about it, we do the same thing. You work with people and analyze how they think and feel. And I do the same thing, just with plants." I laughed at that, but Dad stared at her in a way that said, "I'm so in love with you," which made me want to gag and smile at the same time. Looking back, I'm not so sure she was right. I want to say to her, plants are not people. Plants eat and grow and breathe, but they cannot laugh or sing or wonder. And now she cannot laugh or sing or wonder. I want to say to her, come back, because maybe she's doing all those things, crying, laughing, crying things on the inside, just like her beloved plants, and she only needs someone to push her out. Out again, she can laugh and sing and wonder on the outside with me. October 2nd, Assignment 5. Eggcellent. Mr. Neely asked to see me after class today. He actually announced this during class. "Natalie, can I speak with you for a moment?" Which was not only was embarrassing, but also meant there was no way to escape. I figured he was going to yell at me for daydreaming all through the hour, so I tried to think through everything Mr. Neely had said during class, and I didn't get very far. On the board, he'd written the definition of homeostasis, but I hadn't paid much attention beyond that. Mr. Neely didn't quiz me. Instead, he said, "I know you've been having trouble settling on a scientific question." He said this straight up, without any dorky exclamations or hashtags. I thought you might be able to use a little help. He held out a yellow piece of paper, a flyer for a science competition. I usually only recommend this to my top students, but I thought this might be good for you as well. I'm pretty sure that was an insult, but I took the flyer anyway. There's no pressure, of course, but take a look. I think you might be interested, and I think you might surprise yourself. He smiled like he knew something I didn't, which is something I hate about adults. They always need to prove they're smarter than you. Dari's doing that too, Mr. Neely added. Maybe you should work together. Science is always more fun with a friend. Apparently, Mr. Neely didn't know me very well if he thought I'd be interested in doing extra homework and hanging out with super genius Dari. But I nodded and forced a smile. Thanks, I guess. I glanced down at the flyer, which had a cheesy drawing of a giant smiling egg, with location and cash prize details underneath. I stuffed it into my backpack, knowing it would probably get crumpled with all the other random papers. "Consider it," Mr. Neely said, still grinning way too hard. "And if you decide not to use it for the Wonderings project, I do want you to come up with a different scientific question by the end of the month." I thanked him again and left. When I got home, I spent the rest of the day thinking about Mom. The old Mom would have loved this project. She would have sat with me for days, brainstorming different questions and experiments. But that doesn't matter now. The old Mom has disappeared, replaced by someone I don't know. I don't quite know. And for this project, I'm on my own. According to Mr. Neely, homeostasis, this is your body's way of making sure everything runs smoothly. Even if your external environment changes, your body can maintain a stable internal environment, which lets you function, eat, sleep, play, and do your homework. Hashtag, thanks, body. October 4th, Assignment 6, How to Grow a Miracle. I'm not allowed in my parents' room. I used to be allowed, before this summer happened, when the door shut and stayed shut. Back then seems like a million months ago, even if it was just 3. It happened slowly. I didn't even notice the change at first, like when you grow out of your favorite jeans and you don't even realize how short they've gotten. Mom started working less and sleeping more, and she wore pajamas around the house, which she'd never really done before. I was happy about this at first. I thought it was a good thing at first. I figured that this meant she'd be around more, and we could hang out and talk, and she wouldn't have to go to the lab much. Only it didn't work out like that, obviously, and I didn't notice in time. Mom and Dad have been having whispered conversations at night, talking about problems at work, and I knew something was wrong, but I didn't know something was wrong. I didn't know until one dinner when I finally understood. Things were not okay. We were eating spaghetti and meatballs. Only Dad had cooked, so it wasn't very good. And the air was thick with heavy with July heat. Dad made some joke and I laughed and Mom didn't. And then I thought, I can't remember the last time Mom laughed. I could hardly breathe because I knew that something bad was happening, but I wasn't quite sure. Dad noticed too, and his shoulders slumped and his smile slipped away. It was the worst thing. To watch a smile fade like that. The next morning when I came downstairs, my parents' bedroom door was shut, and Dad was sitting at the kitchen table by himself. I started walking toward their bedroom, but Dad stopped me before I could get any closer. I could tell he was as sad as I was, but he didn't say why. We'll be okay, he said, but why don't you give your mother some space for now? And just like that, I wasn't allowed in their bedroom anymore. Dad put on a happy face and tried to be normal Dad, and Mom disappeared into that dark bedroom and became not Mom, and give your mother some space became Dad's favorite phrase of the whole world. But this evening, while Dad was holed up in his office and I should have been studying like a good daughter, I decided to break the rule. I tiptoed past Dad's office and went to my parents' bedroom door, turning the knob slowly, pushing the door open, careful not to make any noise, barely even breathing. My heart beat in my ears and sweat prickled against my palms. And I kind of hated Mom for scaring me. I kind of hated myself too for being scared. Therapist Dad could probably dissect my whole heart based on that one little feeling, because who in the world is afraid of their own mother? I took 2 quick, quiet breaths and told myself I was there for a reason. I still had to think of a scientific question, and maybe I could get some ideas from one of Mom's books. I didn't look at the lump on the bed that was not Mom. I just walked straight to the far wall of the room, to my parents' bookshelf. Quick, Natalie, quiet, Natalie. The room was dark, but strands of light streamed in through the blinds, cracks of brightness and swirling dust in the midst of all this empty. And I could read the titles on the bookshelf. Mom has this one book, Basic Botany, that she used to read to me, and I meant to reach for that one. But my hand fell on another book instead. Mom's book, How to Grow a Miracle. The book she hated because she wrote it 10 years ago. She told Dad once that she sounded young and naive, but I loved the way her paragraphs sounded. The way the botany speak blended with her excitement and became a secret language with magic words. She wrote like it was a fairy tale, and reading those pages felt like peeking into the Mom of 10 years ago. The Mom who wrote a book and nursed a baby. The Mom who loved growing things. In the semi-darkness of my parents' bedroom, I flipped the pages to the table of contents. Her book was divided into 3 sections, for 3 miracle plant stories, and the biggest section was by far the last one, the cobalt blue orchid, the flower of mystery and miracles. I'd read this section over and over, but seeing those words now sent my heart whirling. Ideas and hope started sparking together inside me, reminding me of the way my mother used to be, excited by science and life and questions. I shut the book because I felt like I was on the brink of something dangerous, and if I took one step further, I'd never be able to go back. I cradled the book to my chest and turned to watch Mom as she slept, dark and dead to the world. I told myself to put the book back on the shelf, to go back to my homework and stop thinking about the miracle orchids. But instead, I tucked the book under my shirt and left the room. It's not like I was going to read it. I just wasn't ready to put it back.